Okay, let's see. Make sure I can see what we're doing here. Well, hello everyone. It is, I think it's the 10th. It's the 9th or 10th. What is it anyway today? It is the 10th of October, 2024. So what we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about today, is a methodology. But before we get to that, we're going to do a thing called holiday time. And before each meeting, if I have something that I need to touch on or update from the prior one, or if there's a significant question somebody's asked in the chat or the comments, then I'll see if I'll answer, maybe deal with those at the time. And the reason we call it holiday time is because when I was growing up and I was out painting with my dad, we had to paint houses, and not houses, but paint my dad's house and paint different things at different times over the years. And you go along, and then you get all done until you think, man, this looks great. And you look over, and there'd be of course, Dad usually found these. Go over there, and you find a spot where in between the board pieces or whatever, there was a little spot you missed. Like the brush went over it, but it didn't get down in the grain of the wood. And he called those holidays, because you were taking a holiday when you were doing your work. You weren't getting it done right. So that's what we're going to do, is call it holiday time. So I wanted to talk about real short, since we've gone over the dollar business a whole lot. But I want to point out something in particular, just to make sure that you catch on to this. And that is that the system and people tend to do this because it's happening to us right now with this gender thing. What's your gender or what's your pronoun kind of garbage. And that is to take a word that you accept as a meaning, and then later come behind and change what the definition of that word is. And they do it in the laws all the time. And that's what happened to our coinage, our money. The thing about the British English pound, that was a pound of sterling silver when it originally had a name, originally was created. And the word dollar is a Spanish milled, is the same coin that was a Spanish milled dollar at the time. But they did go and figure out, well, what were people accepting it in the colonies or in the states at the time, and because it would wear down. So even though ours is a dollar, it doesn't have the same amount of silver in it now that the Spanish milled dollar, the 371 1/4 grains of fine silver. I don't know if I told you about grains or not, but I read once about I looked up, why do they call it grain? Where did that word come from? And apparently, a grain of barley was known to always be basically the same size and weight. And so they used that as a standard. That was kind of interesting. Anyway, so that's what's happened. We started out with the word dollar. Then the Coinage Act of 1792 says that the dollar is going to be the unit of account for the United States. And a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually authorized a coin, and they did mint some called mills, like thousands, and that's why this has million. You think it was million, but it's not. It's thousands. But they call them mills, M-I-L-L-S. And anyway, that was a tenth of a penny. So they kind of figured maybe the money would go up in value. Probably because they have more babies, be more people, and the silver and gold wouldn't be as readily available per capita as it is as time went on and the population grew. Of course, they didn't all count on the bankers coming in and taking over the money. So anyway, now we're all calling. We started calling notes and continuing to treat notes as if they were real dollars. Because they were redeemable. I saw a movie, and you wouldn't even, most people, it just goes right by them. There's words and things that you use in movies or in reading something, and you totally miss it. You don't even see it. My son one time didn't want to watch It's a Wonderful Life. And so anyway, I twisted his arm, made him sit there and watch it. And he ended up liking it. And later on, he went back and he saw a joke, and it was about, Clarence the angel. And he goes, I know what that means. You know, he knew the reference. But if he had heard it before he saw that movie, it would have just went right past and he wouldn't even have caught on. So the same thing goes with the word dollar. They've managed to change it from it being a certain amount of silver. Like, basically, look at the word dollar. What it should be is like the word quart. A quart is an amount of measurement of whatever it is you're measuring it's a liquid measure. We consider that to be a liquid measure and a certain volume of that thing. Then dollar should be the same thing. It's supposed to be a certain number of grains of fine silver. That's how much precious metal is supposed to be in a dollar. Now the alloy doesn't matter. Whether the alloy is 90% or 50% or 70%, doesn't matter as long as there's the same amount of silver in the precious metals in the coin. And then most of you probably don't know that the original coins were not 90% silver. They were 90-something%. I don't remember off the top. I'd look it up in the book, but I don't remember. There's a book right over there that tells me what it is. But anyway, I wanted to make sure you understand that's the game that's played. So we've changed it from the coin. Then we added an additional definition in it, a unit of measure. All right, I mean a unit of account, which is all the books are supposed to be kept in dollars. Well, you don't change what the law said then by changing a definition later. You're supposed to do something completely different. But anyway, we're not going down that road again. So they went and they kept saying it. Well, a note is the same thing. And now we're all calling, and so Federal Reserve notes were called dollars. People just started calling, common people all call it. And then they say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that in the laws, we're going to make these changes. And they use the word dollar all the time. And, oh, I got to write a contract, use the word dollar. But all of a sudden, we're not using dollars anymore, we're using notes. Those are IOUs. And IOUs are not payment. They flat aren't payment. Courts don't say they're payment. But they ignore the fact that the Federal Reserve notes are IOUs. Matter of fact, they claim that the paper notes that we have now, these ones right here, with no redeemability or at all, or nothing on them, not even really a note, in the financial sense, it's not. They're all pretending it, just like the king who wore no clothes. The Emperor's New Clothes, I think is the old name. If you look it up, the Emperor's New Clothes, that's the story. And until the little boy points out, hey, you bunch of idiot adults, he's running around butt naked. And then everybody had to admit, oh shit, he is butt naked. And boy, that didn't turn out good for the clothes makers. So anyway, just wanted to make a note of that. Make sure we are aware of it. So we're going to go to the next topic now. And so look out for that other one. So the next thing I want to talk about, or the main point of this video, is to talk about how to figure out and analyze things to make decisions. Decision analysis, decision process. If you have a problem that you want to solve, or if you're trying to make a decision about something, to decide something, then there's a process you can go through. And the way I typically try to do it is figure out, it depends on how detailed I need to be. Because if it's not that big a deal and I can take care of it real quick, then I'll do something quick. You might have more than one solution. And you might try one out and see if it works. And if it doesn't, it's like, oh crap, I better change something, do something else. And so the process is that you've got to decide what the problem is. So you have to state your problem. And a lot of people should be in this, should learn this in school, but state the problem. Statement of problem or issue or decision or whatever it is that we want to talk about. So you can use this process, and this is really sad that people aren't doing this for politics and choosing who you vote for. They really, really, really should do that. when you hire somebody to do a job, you want to make sure they're qualified for the job. You don't want to know whether the roofer is a nice guy and is friendly to you. You know, that's a nice thing, but the main thing you want to make sure is the roof gets done at the price quoted and in the time quoted, and that the person doing the work is honorable and will actually do what they say they're going to do. So if you're going to look at somebody, you're going to say, all right, well, where does I like them fit into that? Well, it should be kind of on the bottom, actually. I do always teach people. I teach people that work for me in the past. I tell them, and I do tell them, you're selling feelings. So I kind of put that up at a higher level. But I tell them that's kind of like the icing on the cake. You got to have the good cake, and then you put the icing on it, and that's to make them feel good about it. So when no matter what it is you're doing in life, you may not always solve the problem, but you want to make sure that the person that you're helping feels like you're going to help them, that you are going to do what you said you're going to do, that you care about their problems, and you're really trying to be helpful. And I make that a real good point to tell anybody that works for me. When you leave a person's facility or the place you are, you're going to help them with a computer network or computers or whatever you're doing, you need to make sure that that person is happy with what's going on. And you may not be able to fix it, because sometimes you can't fix a computer problem right then. You got to have software updates. You got to have, you don't understand how to do something. You got to ask somebody else something. There's lots of reasons. But never talk down to them. Never treat them lesser than you treat yourself. I think Jesus said something about that, didn't he? Do unto others as you want them to do to you. And remember that everybody's an expert at something. So we want to go back here and figure out what are our requirements. And I'm kind of torn to be in doing the money one or doing the politics one, but I think I'm more ready to talk to y'all about the money one. But we might want to do one of these about like who the president. What would be the qualifications of the president? Would we just like to like them? I don't give a crap if I like them or not. It depends on the policy and what they do. And do we care about the color of their skin? No, I don't care about that either. Do we care about all these other factors do they friendly? Do they look good? I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about whether they can do the job. Now the problem is, do I know what the job is? And that's where I think Americans are really falling down. They don't understand what the job is. And to be an American, what does that mean? The only thing that binds this country together is the respect and support of the ideals that are behind the Constitution for the United States and the constitutions of their states. Those fundamental ideals, that's what holds this country together. If we lose that, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be scattered in a million things. The Catholics will go with the Catholics. The Baptists will go with the Baptists. The Muslims will go with the Muslims. The Jews will go with the Jews. Everybody will go with their own thing, and it'll all be separate. Because we don't have anything that binds us. Now, if we all recognize that God, what the truth about God is, because we have different ideas about that, then, that would be a unifying factor, unifying everybody. If we all understood that we're a part of each other, that we're all one thing, we're all one. And I know there's people out there and they disagree with that and all that, but just think about it. If God disappeared and there was no God, and God went poof, he's gone, what would happen to everything? It all be gone too. What holds the atoms together in this pan? What keeps the paper, makes the paper sit here and actually physically be here? It's the Creator. Like the Declaration of Independence says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. Oh no, you know the thing. Remember the thing? I shouldn't have said that C word. With certain unalienable rights. So, and it goes on: life, liberty, food, happiness, etc., etc. And so we've got to be able to get together and all agree on something. We can't be getting crazy about it because somebody disagrees with us. Because most of the time, honest and honorable people disagree. A lot of times it has more to do with the difference in knowledge, the difference in information that they have. So that's why you have to talk. You have to communicate. You have to hold your temper. You have to listen to the other person. You have to not talk over the other person. Respect them and get the information back and forth and the ideas. And be open to maybe you didn't figure it out right. You didn't learn it right. And don't commit yourself where you can't back out. If you're not 100% sure of something, don't say it's a fact. You know, because then all of a sudden, when somebody who knows better looks at you, they go, well, you know, you didn't know, you knew better than that, or you're a liar. You're a liar. You know, that's if you're wrong about something, they go, you're a liar. Well, make sure you say it in such a fashion you didn't lie. And you were sure when you did say something specifically that you were 100% sure you're right. So you'll hear me a lot of times saying, well, that's what I think, or I'm pretty sure, or I'm 99% sure. And my gut's telling me it is, but you know, there's always that little bit of doubt. It's probably one of our problems here. We got too much doubt, but not enough assurance that we really do know things. But that's a human condition, I suppose. All right, so how much? I already blown 15 minutes of this thing. So we're gonna get this little process going. So a good way. Let's say we're building the technology, and we're not gonna do the politics thing about what would be a president, that they need to be able to do this and this and this and this and this. Because everybody in America should be doing that. Can the person that we support, here's our list of things that presidents need to be able to do. And they don't need to be doing stuff that's got nothing to do with the job that we're hiring them for. I don't care whether or not the dentist knows how to nail nails into the wall, you know, for a carpentry job when I want him to be a dentist. You know, so our big problem is we keep on focusing on crap that doesn't matter and not focusing on what the requirements of the job are and how do we get specifications. And that's what we're going to do here with the money. So I've written a little list down, and we're going to list the qualifications. If we need money, all right, a statement of our problem is we need a not a method of exchange, why can't I remember it? A method of exchange. So we need a method of exchange, or we need something, an asset, something that we can use to be able to create a basis for exchanging goods and services. And we call that money, is what we call it. It's a tool. It's called money, and it has different attributes, just like a hammer has an attribute. We design a claw hammer, and a claw hammer, what's the claw for? Oh, it's to pry things and get boards up, and mainly to get the nails out when you hit it sideways and don't get in there. Don't work. It's got to be hard. It's got to be made out of steel sometimes. So a lot of people don't know this, but they got hammers out of non-ferrous materials. And why? Well, if you're using a hammer in an environment where there could be gas, like natural gas, really you can't smell it. They put sticky stuff in the gas to make sure you can smell a leak. If you're working in a refinery or something, you could be around flammable gases and not even know it. So if you use copper or brass doesn't spark when you hit it. That's why when you go to the propane place and they have the propane thing, all the propane tank nozzles are brass. And the little thing they screw into it is brass. So when they hook it up and they turn it on, it's all... Okay. Hello. I'm back. Obviously I had switched. And switched to a different day, switched to a different outfit, switched to everything. Had some issues, had to take care of some other problems, other things in life, interfering with making videos. So anyway, so where we were talking about the statement of problem and a way of thinking about things, how to analyze circumstances to come up with a better answer. You know, we all do this to some degree in our minds, but sometimes it helps to really analyze things on paper or sit down and really think about it, especially on a more complex problem or decision that's need to be made. And of course, intuition always works. That's one of the best ways to do it. What's your gut feel about it? But so the way I built this little chart, I went ahead and filled it all out. I was going to originally just do it and fill it as we talk, but decided I just fill it out and then talk about it. This is not exactly the way I would do it if we were using PowerPoint. presentation, we'd have it, and we would be able to show each line separately and all that, put the fancy graphics and all that. But for now, we're going to use the marker board method. So over here, I have a list of attributes or requirements for the problem. So what is the problem or statement of a problem? It's a what to use for our money. That's the question. Because obviously the money we have now is failing. You can't save in it. You can't, it's really not a good system. And the bottom line is we're going to figure out, well, what's the utility of that to us? So to the people and the common people that use the money. Because honestly, the way it is, the current monetary system is not a benefit to the people. It's a benefit to those who run the money system and the government too, which is why the government's going along with it, despite the fact that they're supposed to work for us, but they're not working for us. They're working for the banks, the bankers, the big ones. The small banks, a lot of those guys, they don't really know what's going on, but my grandfather did, and he was a small banker. But anyway, so I'm going to go through each of these categories and these attributes, and then we're going to talk about different solutions. So we've got, paper money, we got precious metals, and we have crypto, and say Bitcoin, for example. And I'm going to talk about each of these attributes here, and so we'll go through that, and then we'll start doing some rankings based upon these requirements. First thing is, I've got paper money over here, but debt is what I said. And the reason I said that is because paper money is debt, period. They called it bills of credit. Some people might argue, oh, it's bills of credit. It's not the same thing. It is. It's a debt. It's a piece of paper. It's a contract, and it's a promise to do something. Unless it's just script money. Unless it's just money that we have now. There's no promise. They claim that the full faith and credit of the United States is backing this, which means they're the debtor. But the problem is, what's full faith and credit? I mean, show me some of that in a bucket. I want to see it. So, but it also depends on who is. I have two columns, even though the numbers all come out the same, to make the point that who is the debtor and who is the lender. The banks have figured out a way to put the government on the hook and use you as a collateral because you signed the note to borrow the money in the first place, and they just get to sit back and make all the profits and control everything. That's the kind of scheme game that we're into right now. So their paper money is not an obligation. It says Federal Reserve note on it, but the Federal Reserve is not required to do anything because it says it's payable. The government will cover it. It's pretty sad the way it is, but but I really thinking of the lender or borrower in the circumstances where it was really a note. If it really is a note, okay, and so somebody is really obligated to pay that note to whoever's using that money. Well, is it more risky to have a borrower's money backing your money, their debt, or is it better to have the bank supposed to have the gold and silver coin in the vault? And that backs the currency, the paper money floating around, so that you can go and get it from them. Well, who's likely to last longer? That's a good question. But the individual, I think, is a little less likely. And I have a range on this because it all depends upon what the money is and the credit and worthiness of the entity, the person or the company, the corporation, the bank. I'd probably rather have the currency that's going to be guaranteed by the bank than guaranteed by Joe Schmo down there that bought money to buy a house. Even though in a way that's backing it as well, but it's not individualized. Now, our system right now, like I said before, is the banks are getting us to back the money, and they're playing like they're the lender, but they're not. So the borrower is on the hook for the liability of it. The lender which if you say it's the bank, then they're not on the hook. But anyway, the idea here is that who's going to be responsible for redeeming the lawful money, the money in lawful money. That's the only reason I put it. I just put it up there to talk about it. But as I went through the logic, it just didn't make sense to really matter. It doesn't really matter, but that is really important for us to know. All right, so this is PM's precious metal, and this is cryptos. In particular, I put Bitcoin. Now, why did I do Bitcoin? Bitcoin and the cryptos. For those who are not familiar with cryptographic technology, the money and all that, what it really is just like points in a basketball game, except for there's a limited number of points. Trying to think about, what other game plays like that, kind of like Monopoly does, except for the banker is going to end up winning most likely. Whoever gets all the points wins the game. And so cryptos are fundamentally, there's a couple of different types. There's decentralized and there's centralized. And then the third attribute that comes along with them is whether they're limited in the quantity. So, for example, I think there's one they call XRP. And XRP there's going to be a lot of them. And the bank system wants to do their Fed coin. Oh, there's unlimited number of those. So there's several different coins out there that's just going to be unlimited numbers of. And there's other ones that there's a maximum, like Bitcoin. There's never going to be more than 21 million something. Now I can't say $21,500,000 because not dollars, but, and I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it's 21 million something Bitcoin. And the reason for that is the mathematical algorithm that is used to create Bitcoin hits a wall. The formula no longer works after you get past 21 million something, and so therefore they can't create it anymore. So after that, the miners who process all the transaction, that's what the miners do. Kind of like servers in the server world. There's the servers basically, and what they do is they process the transactions and maintain the blockchain, and and they also get right now they can earn more Bitcoin every time they solve a block of the mathematical problem that I was talking about, until the problem is completely solved, and they get awarded Bitcoin for doing that, and they get a fee for all the transactions. Everybody does a transaction, they get a fee, a small amount that is determined by the blockchain itself. And so that's why they will continue to do mining even after there's no more Bitcoin, because they get the fees. Now, so there's other, let's see, the unlimited kind. We talked about the fact that it's distributed. That's right. And if it's not centrally allocated by some governmental organization, which Bitcoin is not. So Bitcoin has some other issues negative compared to other cryptos that have been developed since then. But the bottom line is, when it comes down to money, it depends upon what the social agreement is. What do everybody they think is worth something? If you think it's worth something, it doesn't matter if it is. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we think this is worth something. This is a piece of paper, and it costs them 2 cents to make it. I mean, and then they back your labor with it, basically, is what they're doing, because when you sign the document saying you're going to pay it back, well, how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to use your labor to pay it back. So since you're using the labor to pay it back, your labor is kind of backing it. But it's not really 100% that way. And because it still goes down in value no matter what. And why does it do that? Because they keep printing more of them. They have to get the interest paid. We know how that works, so I'm going to go through that again. All right. So the first, attribute or requirement of money is stable. Is it have a stable value? Now, I'm ranking, based on my little thing, that paper money has a stable value from up to 8 being real stable to 0. So if the paper money is a true note, or let's say certificate, a silver certificate, that's guaranteed, supposed to be, until the government just reneged on it, and apparently nobody was able to stop them. Any court cases or anything. They should have been sued, and they should have won. That the government shouldn't be allowed to commit a crime, which is fraudulent when you issue a note saying that it's going to be paid. That's and then you don't honor the contract. That could be fraud, depending on circumstances exactly. Now, they knew that it wasn't going to work out in the long run, because they never are honest. So in the long term, it doesn't work out. But if it's a certificate where you can take it and you guarantee they're going to get it, and they only print as many silver certificates or certificates as you're going to get, as coins are out there that have been issued against, then that's really strongly, stable value, creates a real stable value currency. And our money was really very stable all the way up until the Federal Reserve. And once the Federal Reserve got involved, it started to go to crap. And then when 1960, if you look at the charts, you go look at the graph charts of price of things. And when all the big jumps that we've seen in prices, whenever they made the money less and less real. So anyway, precious metals are at the top. They're the most stable value of any that we have. We can't come up with new ones. It's a real problem. How do you, of all the things that mankind's ever been able to figure out, silver and gold, metals or something like that, in terms of using it for money, has been the best there ever has been, and probably may ever will be. I will have to see how things turn in the future. But cryptos and Bitcoin right now, they're not very stable. They jump up and down, and maybe a 7 is even being a little bit more aggressive with how they are now. But they're going to be more as time goes on, and people become more accepting of them. They will get more and more stable in value. Now, things like natural disasters and infrastructure destruction and things like that can really affect the value. But the only other thing that can really negatively affect the value of the precious metals is discoveries of new metals in the ground. A whole bunch more of some, big, huge, we made a big old deposit discovery, and now we can mine more gold faster. But other than that, it's pretty much as good as we're going to get. All right, portability. Now, the paper money and all that is highly affordable, very highly portable. But there's some restrictions here. For example, you can't just take your money. If you have $50,000 in the bank, you can't just take that and put it in your pocket and go over to another country. You can't do that. And the gold, same problem. Gold is really good when it's just short term, right around town. You're going to do small transactions. It's great for that. Even medium, moderate sized transactions, what the average person would be using, $10,000. What does that take? Right now, $10,000 is four ounces of gold. Well, that ain't hardly anything. 4 ounces. I got more in my wine glass than that. So, anyway, precious metals, 8 to 6 is my estimate. Why might it go down? Well, it goes down because in order to make a long distance transaction, you end up with a problem. Well, how am I going to get this gold that I want to buy that boat that was manufactured, 4 states over? I got to get it here. So it's got to be paid, got to be shipped, got to get here. And your money's got to get back to the guy who made the boat. So transportation costs, security costs, things like that. Now we had a system built in place where it all automatically happened all the time. So you could write a check on your bank, and then the banking system behind the scenes would transfer the gold and get it to where it needed to be. And so they were able to make it when the system was operating. It's pretty portable. But then you start talking about international. Well, then you've got to settle the account. You've got to get those gold bars over to the other side of the ocean. And, the ocean's got a lot of gold that's sitting at the bottom of it that fell because of the ship sinking. So there's issues with that portability on precious metals. Cryptos, on the other hand, extremely portable. You just have the wallet words, and you got to memorize. You can go anywhere in the world where you want to. Get on a computer and have access to your cryptos. Doesn't matter. Borders are irrelevant when it comes to cryptos. That's one reason the government doesn't like them. But you should have a right to take your property wherever you want, whenever you want, and there should be no laws about it. What right does somebody say, well, you can't take your own money over there, and we want to know about it? What right do you have to say that? That's not theirs. Mankind drew the lines on the ground. God didn't do it. So I think the idea that you have to tell them how much money you're going to bring in or out of the country is wrong. I don't think they should have that right. But they do, and they use it, and they have the power. So that's the way we have to play the game. So anyway, but in terms of what we're talking about, this is great. They're very, very, very portable. Does it preserve wealth? Well, the paper money stuff, the debt money never preserves your wealth. It always goes to zero. Every example that's been used in the history of mankind that used paper money has eventually gone to zero, except for the current one that hadn't got there yet, but it's sure going fast. So It does not preserve your wealth. And not only that, it doesn't preserve your ability to save. If you save their money, and that's what you're saving, you will guarantee you will have less when it's time to retire or when you can't work anymore. Because I remember when I was a kid, I was listening to radio station about all kinds of stuff. Heck, they were giving away a Corvette back when I was a teenager. Oh man, everybody thought that was great. But we thought $250,000, you're set for life. You had $250,000, you're set for life. It was incredible. A bubble gum, a penny for a nice piece of bubble. We already talked about that. A Coca-Cola, the little 6-ounce Cokes that you see right now in a glass jar at the store, they charge you $1 a piece or something, $2 or something like that for them. You used to buy those for 5 cents. I remember paying 5 cents. And I remember when the 10-cent ones came out. The 10-cent ones came out, and they were, I think it was 8 ounces before, and then it was 12 ounces. So you got, you only got 50% more, and you got 50% more, I guess. You got, 12 ounces instead of 8. But, and they also, it was 50% more money. Well, it was double. It was 100% more in price because it was 10 cents. So 10 cents to get a Coke, a glass bottle of Coke. So they didn't have to worry about plastic being inside, the metal can, that they line the thing with plastic so it doesn't react with the metal. You take the bottle, and their laws are in a lot of places where you got 3 cents for each bottle in deposit. So we go collect those things off the side of the road and go down to the store and turn them in at the grocery store and get candy and stuff with it. They kept the roads clean. The people did get foot cut on glass sometimes. All right, so it preserves your wealth. Gold and silver preserve the wealth for sure. In 1964, a gallon of gas cost $0.25. Right now, last I looked, the price for a 25-cent silver quarter is somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 times the face value of the coin. So at $3 a gallon gas, that is 12 quarters. So basically you get 2 gallons of gas for 48 quarters, but 24 quarters of the old money, 1 quarter will buy you a gallon of gas. So that's basically, double. You get double the amount of gasoline for the same coin that you got when I was a kid. So it preserved their wealth really well. And we are going to talk about, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more because I haven't gone down to here. So the other thing is who backs the money? The money doesn't need to be backed if it's silver or gold or any asset of real value. It doesn't have, what do you mean backing? Backing, people don't even understand what backing means. Backing means you could redeem it for the backing. You can get the backing for it. I have so many people telling me, it's backing. BRICS is going to be backed by gold and backed by this. Can you take the BRICS paper money, whatever the heck it is, down to the bank and get the thing that they're saying it's backed by? If you can't do that, it's not backed, period. Nobody needs to discuss it. Doesn't need to go any further. That's the case. It's not backed. You can't redeem it for it. So we need to make sure we got that one. So the other idea about preserving your wealth is if the entity that is backing it, like the government, if it's for Federal Reserve, for example, this is a Federal Reserve note. It's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. If the American people decided at some point, just like the Declaration of Independence says, you have the right to abolish the government. We actually have that right. We can change it. But if you do that, your money's gone. If you destroy it, the entity goes away and we create a new one, for example, the paper notes of the old system are worthless. They become zero. So now the people can't say, wait a minute, in some country, in some place or whatever, we finally had enough. The government's been sending the soldiers out. They're killing us. They're doing it. Let's say they decide to revolt. I don't think it's a good idea. And they try to pass laws in the United States. You can't revolt. So wait a minute, Declaration of Independence says I can. Well, I guess you have to figure out a way to do it and not violate the laws, whatever, the sedition laws are trying to go after Trump for, which he didn't do. But anyway, so you have to worry about that. The entity. How long is these entities going to exist? Well, you can still take your silver coin from the Roman times, thousands of years ago, if it really the calendar is correct. And those coins are still valuable. They can still be used for money. They still preserve the wealth. Okay, this doesn't preserve the wealth. I told you I already got a quarter before when I was a kid. You get a quarter for gas. When I was 1964, I was only 6 years old, and not anymore. So next thing is divisibility. All of them are pretty divisible. The only reason I put my precious metals aren't as divisible is because if they get too small, if gold, let's say, goes to $50,000 an ounce, or in terms of purchasing power today, a very tiny little bit is gold. I mean, right now it's $2,500 in today's money for a 1 ounce, or $2,600 really for 1 ounce of gold. So a tenth of an ounce is $260. So, you divide that by 10 and you $2.60, which is, a tenth of a tenth. So, you're getting so small an amount of gold, so it becomes a little bit of an issue. So the only way to start using gold that small would be to actually have to do some type of certificate where you put the gold, or you can do cryptos, put the gold in a big vault, and then you need to make sure that you have ability to make sure the amount of gold that's in that vault is the maximum number of cryptos. And you really can do that pretty easy. You could have external auditors. You could have the government holding the gold. When the external and anybody has a right to audit the gold, the government puts all of the information on the blockchain, because every ounce of gold in there is on the blockchain. And then the third party was actually, doing the thing. So the mint and everything would be separate from the government, basically. But anyway, the bottom line is cryptos can be paired with gold to create a gold-backed cryptos, and they've been trying to do that. The question is, well, who's going to hold it, secure it, and what's the money? And it's going to cost money to actually keep that and preserve it and guard it, make sure it doesn't get stolen. They always have stealing, no matter what. It doesn't matter. Anybody tells you it's not going to be stolen, that's bull. They always figure out a way to steal stuff. So let's go to fungible. So everything's fungible. All right. Are they assets? Well, they are not assets. That's my rule. They are not assets. They are debt. And a debt's not an asset. But the bankers want to say it is. So we need to change our accounting systems. Like I said before, we need to stop saying that an IOU is an asset to a business. It's not. It is a potential asset. If the person who owes the money doesn't pay the bank, then you're in trouble. Because that what you thought was an asset turned out not to be an asset, and now you got a loss and you got a problem. So we need to our accounting system needs to be modified so that it doesn't it reflects that risk that is in there in terms of accounts receivable. Well, accounts receivable from a company that filed bankruptcy, for 3 years ago, or has done it 3 times, or there's a lot of risk factors when you're determining whether or not you're going to say that accounts receivable is an asset. Heck, they just went after old Trump because he said he or his business really probably said that some property is worth X amount of money, and the banker said, well, we'll give you this much money on that. We loan it on you. Well, they do their due diligence. They go find out whether or not they think it's worth it, and then they loan it. If I can take my old junker car down there and get 5 times the market price for it in terms of a loan, well, what the heck? Who's the stupid person? It ain't me. It's the guy loaning me the money. He didn't do his due diligence. So I'd be in jail because I guessed wrong. That's ridiculous. And that's the thing that they're doing. So I think they're not assets. They're liabilities of somebody. And over time, they're losing value because the value of the money is going to go zero down long term. But this is all short-term stuff. We're always really good about looking at trees and not seeing the forest. So let's see here. Broadly valued. So basically broadly accepted. Do a lot of people think, and can you use it in your day-to-day life and function and pay your bills and get your stuff taken care of with this kind of money? And, it's real true. The current system, yes, very much so. Over time, they lose its value. So that's why I say it's in some places in the world, it's not valued. The Federal Reserve notes, $100 bills aren't even accepted in some countries because so much counterfeiting going on. So, and then they can just decide tomorrow that, oh, well, we're going to make the old ones no good and here's some new ones. You have to bring in the old ones. And then that hurts you if you don't want the government to know or some banker to know everything that you're doing. It's not their business. But that's the way our system is right now. So hopefully we'll get some education, and maybe down the road, maybe way after I'm dead and gone, we might get a new system. Maybe I'll see it. Who knows? Precious metals, they keep their availability. Now I've got a broadly valued. So yes, precious metals you can get something in almost anywhere in the world for precious metals. Bitcoin and crypto, no, but they are going to get more as time goes on, as it already has. Used to be, who knew what a Bitcoin was? That's a joke. I'm not taking it. Now you can not going to give you anything for that, and now you're getting things for it. So you can convert it pretty much most countries of the world now into the local money, and so it's becoming more available as time goes on. But it does have a dependency, and we'll talk about with durability. The debt money is not durable in the long term, but even short term, prices are changing. In gas station, I go to one day and I can buy this much gallons of gas for this paper, and then the next week, 2 days later, I go there and all of a sudden I get less, or I might get more. And I think they're playing a game with us. They make it go way up or reduce how much gasoline you can buy by raising the prices. And then all of a sudden the prices are looking terrible and we're all upset. We have lines and everybody's pissed. And then they drop it 50% of what it went up. And everybody, okay, I'm calmed down now. We're good. They're all laughing their ass off as they walk away with the cash. So that's the game that's being played. So, now durability. Durability also has to do with what if your money is in your mattress at home and you have a fire? You're in trouble. But if it's gold, doesn't matter. Gold fire ain't going to bother the gold. It might melt it if it's hot enough, but your house fire is not going to melt gold. You have to be storing some nasty shit in there if you're going to be melting gold down. Cryptos and Bitcoin. Now, why do I say they're durable? Because if you have it in your computer and your computer dies, and if the whole internet and your section of the world stops working, eventually you can get back on to the internet somewhere and get your cryptos back. So it's very durable so long as our technology-based, electronics, electrical, internet, all that stuff is still around. It'll continue to be available. And now counterfeit resistant. They're always having problems with counterfeiting paper money. That's why we have so many different, they change it. It's $1 bill, nobody counterfeits this anymore because it's not worth anything, what it used to be. And so now they're just doing big bills. But, you can try and take these down. We were at a bowling alley one time, and I heard that, there's a way to put them under a black light and you can see if they're fake or not. So we did that. We pulled out some of them out of our pockets and shined, and the light was on. Some of them were all lit up bright. Wait a minute, those are fake. Okay, so it paused me again. So we'll see. Anyway, I think I just told you. Hopefully, you saw the whole thing. But you could take your money and use a black light and find out if it's fake or not. And we went to a bowling alley, pulled it out of our pocket, and lo and behold, $5 bills and stuff in our pockets didn't pass the black light test. So that was probably, 10 years ago, something like that. So they're always fighting this counterfeit problem. It's getting so bad that the quarters now, they got so many dang quarters, nobody knows which ones are real and which one's not. Interesting. I wonder why they're doing that. Why would you make the coins everybody's picture. Oh, you've got this state or that. 50 different states. I got 50 different quarters circulating around there. And then all these other commercial coins out there. Who would know the difference? You could flood them with Mickey Mouse pictures on them, and nobody would even understand. They would, if they were made the same. Maybe it's because it costs more to make them nowadays than what they're worth in the purchasing power, and so they don't care. When it's pretty bad when you think you go down to the store and you got to pay 30 cents to buy a washer, steel washer, and the government made 30 pennies copper zinc and with copper alloy, zinc copper alloy with copper coating on them, 30 of them. And that's what it costs for one guy to take a piece of steel and stamp a little circle out of it and say, oh, here, and they can make 30 cents for that. That's pretty, something really strange going on. To me, that's instability. So we get down to, we're still on our counterfeit resistance. So gold coins are really resistance of that. Very hard to do it. I put a 9 because it's possible to do it, and then people are faked. They don't know that there's a less silver in, like silver dollars. If there are some old silver dollars, they're not old silver dollars themselves, but they're coins that look like silver dollars that do not have the right amount of silver in them to make them a U.S. dollar. And I really think that the law should have been, what counterfeit should have been defined as somebody who makes a U.S. dollar coin that doesn't have the exact same purity and alloy that is in the ones made by the mint. That's all it should be. The purpose of the mint should only be to make sure that when you're trading your silver and gold money, that whatever you want to use, but your silver and gold, the substance of it is the gold. When you're trading that, you know exactly how much you're trading. That's the purpose of it. That was the original purpose. Of course, they always have some, reasons that you don't know about. There's always more than one reason why anytime that anything that happens. It just seems that's the way. So precious metals have an issue, but boy, when it comes to Bitcoin, you can't fake those. You can't create phony Bitcoins. Not going to happen. The only way that happens is if there's not any Bitcoin network anymore, or somebody. I don't even know. There might be if you took over 50%, over more than 50% of the entire mining capacity in the world into hands of one people and took the whole blockchain over. But I don't see how that would really help you anyway, either. So and give you control, which people would not like, and they would stop using it, and that would mess it all up. So nobody's going to do that, because then their investment in getting that much would be worth nothing. So anyway, you can't counterfeit this stuff. And as long as the blockchain software is around, 1,000 years later, the same algorithm is still going to be worth something. The only thing is if we come up with a way of hacking and intercepting the data, because Bitcoin and cryptos are not, they're two pieces to it. They're, we're going to talk about this in another video, but you have the program that operates the blockchain and moves things around, but then you have the information itself. It's the data itself. The crypto is data, and the data it can't be hacked. The wallet software can be hacked, and then you can send the coins to somebody else, but you can't make fake coins. All right. So I hope you guys like this little video. We're going to stop on this one, but I ought to do one on politics, really on an office of a job or the president. But think about it. Use the same methodology. You can put candidate names up here, and you can say, okay, the president, what's the job of the president? Well, the first thing you're supposed to do is uphold the Constitution. So do they talk about the Constitution? We never make our politicians say, what do you think about the Constitution? What about this? We don't ever query. All the questions have to do with how much free shit you're going to give us. Pretty much. What are you going to not take away from us? It's pretty sad the way things are. But what about your oath of office? What about, talking about the job and how good they did the job? The promises that they made, did they keep their promises? If they didn't, why are you trusting them again? It's amazing how many times we keep electing the same guy who doesn't ever do it. And then they play games and tricks on the politics. It amazes me that you see all these videos on this is way off subject, but I'm going to throw way off subject stuff in my videos all the time.
You ever thought you see the camera and one of the politicians is up there, be a representative or whatever, saying good stuff, but there's no empty room. The hell damn room's empty. How can Congress be in session and nobody's in the room? That's what they're doing. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. They just have to sit there butt in a chair and listen to everybody else's arguments about issues and stuff that's going on. They shouldn't be allowed to just sit up there and speak to pie so they can take that recording and show it to all their people out on the internet to get them to vote for them again or out in the world. That's not the way it should be working. They should have to be there sitting in that chair and handling business like they're supposed to be doing. But we ought to pay attention to those things. So we could play, butt in chair. How you might like that one? How many times did they vote for whatever they did? Did they vote for something that was unconstitutional? Do I know of anything? Are they allowing this paper money? Are they standing against this paper money system that the bankers are doing? I don't know. They're not doing that. Why not? They're always promising you more shit. More free, excuse me, I shouldn't be saying that, but more stuff. More stuff. My congressional representative, all he ever did, I ever heard is, I helped the veterans who they're abusing by sending them all over these unconstitutional wars, and now they're patting themselves on the back because they, gave them some more money for their doctor bills. I got a problem with that. I don't like it. Other than that, it was all about free stuff. They were going to free things for the students, free things for the illegal aliens. And then I saw an article that said they really pat their back on themselves for tracking down with all the money they spent on the IRS, 67,000 new people or whatever the number was. We got $1.1 billion off of those scufflaws, the people who are cheating on their taxes, or they made mistakes, or they didn't pay taxes, or whatever it was. 1.1 billion. It's incredible. It's nothing. It doesn't even pay for the IRS's additional crap. So anyway, we'll talk about the IRS one of these days. Right now, we're not talking about that. But hopefully you guys saw this method. Use this method. When you don't want to decide about politics, you want to decide, make a decision, you always put your pros and cons down, list all the things you can say, and then rank them. Some of them may be so important that, a thing of 1 to 10 doesn't, it's just like, it has to do this. It has to be fungible. If it's not fungible, it's not worth it. So you wouldn't have any possibilities that weren't fungible. Those wouldn't even be included in the first. So that'd be the first way you throw out things. You start picking stuff that meets, at least to some level, meets these things. And remember, your point of view is critical. Point of view is critical. From the banking system's point of view, and the guys running it, these numbers are a lot better. They would say these are really high. Even if they were honest, they said the same situation. The problem is, from their point of view, since they're making all the money and getting the control, they would add some more criterion down here that we don't have on here. But that one about it lasting, preserving the wealth, independent of the banks or the government or anybody else, that's really important. They shouldn't be able to take your money the way they're doing it. So you guys have a great day. Please like and subscribe if you really like it. Pass it on to other people. That would be real helpful to me. And I think I'm really more, it's going to be helpful to other people, I think. There's got to be people, I know there's people that don't know these things and don't think this way. They just never were taught, didn't sit down. I run across young people all the time, and they're oblivious to this stuff. And it's not their fault. It's flat out not their fault. They're being abused, and they're not being taught, and the parents didn't get taught. And when the parents didn't get taught, they don't teach the kids because they don't know to do it. And then when you start talking to them about it, they get upset because you tell them it's your fault you didn't teach them. Of course, it is their fault. They're responsible for teaching them, making sure they learn things. But the whole society and culture is set up to not help them be responsible. It's to make them so they are ignorant and don't ever put two and two together to realize, oh, wait a minute, if I want my children to have a better life or as good a one as I've had, I need to learn some things. We need to take care of our earth. We'll talk about oil and all that kind of stuff. I've been thinking about that video right today. I want to make sure I can have people not dismiss it because I'm going to say oil's bad stuff. Because there isn't anything better right now. That's the problem. And we need to get into finding some things that are better, and killing the wildlife and shit with windmills and messing up, maybe the oceans and getting the sea life affected by the electricity generation that's happening and affecting the wind. These tools, these things we're using now, lithium ion, or lithium batteries, they're terrible. They blow up people, and the cars explode. I mean, how in the world are they getting away with this? Nobody's standing up to it. It's not a good thing. So anyway, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.